not the whole reason that we're here, but what we really wanted to like dive in and talk with you about was your 13 years since 13 video.
Yes.
Applaud you for posting that.
Thank you.
It was just like so real. And
thank you.
Yeah.
When you were posting it, did you have any idea that like the impact that it would have?
I hoped that like it would reach people in that way because it was something that was so vulnerable. But anytime you post a video, you don't know. Like, and you can't with like audiences have so much content these days. You can't expect people to give you their time in that way. And so right after I pressed post, I remember just putting my phone down and like starting to pace because I was like, well, I hope like people receive this well, because like, you know, there's a lot of unserious people on the app too. Really early on, it could have just been like, why are you sharing this with us? And then I could have been like, oh, I feel weird about this and deleted it. But it was just an era. I was in London at the time, and it was an era I was having on social media. I was going to a bunch of award shows, and there was a lot of discourse about why I was at these award shows and who I was, I guess, because I had started gaining a little bit of a new audience who didn't know any of my content before. And it just kind of felt like people had a little bit of an idea of me that I was almost like an industry plant, or just started showing up at these things and felt entitled to them and felt like I am just here and I didn't put in any work to get where I am, and I'm just at these amazing things. Right. And I almost didn't even fault people for thinking that, because if you don't have the information of who I am and then you see me at all these things having a great time, you'd be like, okay, well, why is he here next to these stars who we have seen them put in the work? Yeah. So I felt like, okay, people just don't seem to really know who I am or know about me. And I was feeling like I was getting lost with who I was too. I was starting to think like, do I deserve to be in these places? What have I done to get where I am? And the work of an influencer is very elusive. Like what actual work I've put in to get to where I am influencer wise is who knows. But I knew I had been through a lot to get where I was mentally. Yeah. And I figured I was just like walking around London, and I was like, I think I just want to share a little bit about myself. And the going down my ages was not my like original thought. I was just like, I'm just going to share things about myself. And then I just started writing in my notes app as I was walking around, like, okay, one of the first things that happened to me was like, one of the most significant things was at 13, I came out. And then I just kind of like kept going from there and trying to write all of these things. And I felt like there was a big change that happened to me in rehab and then post rehab. So I changed the language after that. And then it wasn't until really finishing the whole thing that I was like, oh, wait, it's been 13 years since I was 13. I was like, oh my God, that I started at halfway through my life. Like now it's been a whole new half of my life. Yeah. And I'm here now. And it's amazing. And it's also has a completely new set of challenges than it did when I was first 13. But I'm happy with where my life is. It's also occasionally not a good time, but I'm very grateful regardless to be where I am at this point. So I just kind of started writing it down, and then I just kind of put up the camera and talked through it, and you know, then just like put it out there and paced around a little bit.
Was that terrifying? Like pressing post?
It's no, I think like once it actually fully uploads is when I'm like, oh, okay, now it's out there. And then I, you know, was checking it at like a few minutes later and was like, okay, it seems like, you know, people seem to be receiving it well. And like, I feel seen in a way. But then, you know, as time went on, like within 30 or 40 minutes, I knew it was being received in a way that felt very meaningful to me. And I knew it seemed like a lot of people were already being helped by it. Yeah. And I felt very good about it after that. And I think also I would have felt good about it even if it didn't get the response that it did. But the way that it got the response that it did made me feel even better about sharing that, because sometimes I feel like sometimes we go through hard things and then we're happy with our growth at the end of it, but it's almost like you feel like you went through it and you're just consistently trying to fight your way through new things.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to occasionally have those markers of having gone through something and then feel like there's something coming from that darkness. And I can actually see what is coming from it and see the impact that it's having on people. And it's a good reminder to share things like that every once in a while, to like continue being funny, but also that people sometimes need to see that like life is not perfect. And I know it wasn't going to reach all of the people who were, you know, hating on me being at some of these things, because I continue to get those responses. But what matters to me is the people who it does reach. And I was really happy to see that people seemed to be helped out by it, because also I know some of my audience is in their teen years. And like when you're in your teen years, those problems that you're going through feel like and are the biggest issues you have ever experienced. Yeah. Like a 15-year-old heartbreak or 15-year-old family turmoil is insanity. And it's really easy to be told by adults at that point in your life that it's like, you're young, you'll grow and find more things. But at that point, you're not grown up. And that is the biggest thing you're dealing with. And I don't think 15-year-old me would ever have seen where I would have made it at this point. There were so many times I was very ready to just give up on everything that I had dreamed of as a kid. But when you're a kid, it's so easy to dream, and it's so easy to have all of these really big picture ideas in front of you. And then as you go through life, they slowly get chipped away because reality keeps getting thrown at you, and the world around you wants to make you feel smaller because they feel small.
Yeah.
But it really just takes a few things to break through that. But it also takes seeing people who have gotten through it themselves.
Yeah.
And I saw so many people who helped me through my dark period in rehab, and so many people in rehab also told me, because a lot of people in rehab are in their 30s or a little older in life, because like 19 is really young to go to rehab. But they all said to me, if I had just like gotten on the right track at your age, I would be so much farther ahead than I am now. Because it's really easy to be in your 20s and just be considered like a big partier, because being sloppy in your 20s isn't necessarily that out of the norm. The 20s are still like a crazy period of in time. But because all of those people said that to me, I figured like, okay, I guess I'll at least give it a try. And I'm so glad I did, because now even now at 26, I still feel like I got way farther ahead than I would have at all if I had continued going down the path that I was.
Yeah.
So I felt really good about the video, basically.